Ice Queendom is a spin-off 12-episode adventure brought to us by the same studio who made one of my favorite anime, Madoka Magica. Studio Shaft primarily focuses on depressive and comedic anime, and a decent portion of their more popular works are romantic comedies, though they aren't strangers to action-focused shows. The music was done by Void Chords and Sayori Hayami, so not Jeff Williams, and it does a good job of still feeling like RWBY music. And I watched it, and I want to talk about it. Full spoilers ahead, but I'm not recapping anything here. If you haven't seen it, you may get kind of lost, but that's okay. It just means you can still go and watch the show and enjoy it afterwards if you'd like. So let's start already. Episode 1. The one that recaps the first episode of RWBY. While technically recap, it was still entertaining enough with plenty of new scenes and interactions to keep returning fans from feeling like we've seen all this before. I feel that cutting up Weiss's fight with Blake's adventure on the train was kinda weird. Would have been better to not interrupt the fight and just have the Blake part after the fight, in my opinion. Episode 2. The one that recaps episodes 2 through 8 of Volume 1. While it's kinda a lot to cover all in one episode, I feel it's fine pacing-wise. Returning fans know all of this already, and are basically just waiting for the fun fight, while new fans may find the pace a bit quick, but still totally followable. Also, while this Sakuga animation is very impressive and looks very nice, I just find it distracting. I recognize that this is well done, but the sudden jump in detailing just brings me out of it personally. We also get introduced to Shion, who uses they-them pronouns. It's amazing how many bitch babies I've seen cry about that. It's the simplest thing on earth. If you're talking about RWBY, you would say, she's cool, her favorite color is red. If you're talking about Sun, you would say, he's nice, his favorite color is yellow. And if you're talking about Shion, you would say, they're fun, their favorite color is purple. It's so simple. Stop being a pussy about it. Jesus. While we're discussing Shion, I'd like to say, yeah, they don't really look like they belong. It's because their design is a lot more fantasy than modern. Like, Oz and Glinda are wearing shit you can just go out and buy right now, while Shion's shirt is defying like 3 laws of physics. Honestly, if their shirt just like had straps or something, it wouldn't be so noticeable. Episode 3. The one that recaps the rest of Volume 1 and also introduces the nightmare. This is where the recapping became dull for me, and honestly, I skipped most of the episode because of it. I had waited to watch Ice Queendom until about 6 episodes had aired. If I had been watching week to week, I probably wouldn't have skipped anything, but I would have been bored waiting for the new stuff to start. The introduction and explanation to the nightmare was really fun and easy to follow, though. Episode 4. The one where RWBY enters Weiss's nightmare. It finally feels like the show starts, and it's a lot of fun. Getting to see how Weiss's dream interprets so many elements of the world is really fascinating, and I'm excited for the theorists to discuss them. I also like that RWBY gets to go in on her own at first. She's the protagonist, so let her play that role. It's also nice to have her try and figure things out on her own, so we can have some nice comparisons to how well the team works together later. While not action-packed, we were smothered in important world building and establishment without it being just a bunch of boring conversations. I was hooked the whole way through. Episode 5. The one where Blake and Yang join the dream. I really like seeing the girls interact in this show. Over time, I've come to basically hate all of them in the real show, so it's nice to have fun seeing them speak again here. I also really like them going through the dream multiple times. It does a good job of showing us their progression towards victory without it feeling like they just keep throwing crap at the heroes to keep them occupied until the finale, you know? It also makes it feel a bit like a video game, like learning the patterns of an Elden Ring boss, and it gives it a vibe similar to a horror-adjacent visual novel like Higurashi, where we get to see all the bad endings as the gang progresses in the story. This bit where Pyrrha sings was interesting and fun in terms of character and story, but also the animation was just not good enough, especially this distance shot. Pyrrha's like a liquid here. Episode 6. The one where a bunch of people shat themselves because Jean still exists. While not the greatest action, I wasn't upset by the fight's quality. I found them more engaging than the fights we usually see in normal RWBY volumes. The CG models that they used a few times were pretty distracting, but also I feel like they're always distracting in every anime, so I don't know, what are you gonna do? If it helped them save some money and helped to keep an underpaid animator from going without sleep, then yeah, who cares about a few weird shots in a throwaway fight? Cause that's what it is. With how Weiss stomps the others so easily, the point wasn't to make this a close match, but rather to show us and the characters that they need to try something else. It was really fun seeing Penny and Sun show up again. I really hadn't thought they would, and getting to see Penny talk to Yang was especially fun since I'm pretty sure this is the first time we've gotten that. Jean joining in the adventure also is a great idea, and some people gotta calm down a little bit about it. Not only do they establish his vaccinated status against the nightmare, but also, like, he has a crush on Weiss. I've seen people say Pyrrha should have been the one to enter the dream instead, and I wholeheartedly disagree. Seeing Dream Pyrrha being such an anomaly with her design and how she can't speak means we get to see a lot of insight into Weiss and how she perceives Pyrrha in relation to herself. If Pyrrha had joined the adventure instead of Jean, we'd miss out on that to instead have Dream Jean either be identical to Ren and Nora, or just be a vessel for please date me comedy. And no, obviously Ren and Nora aren't joining in. Weiss doesn't know them. She said like what? A sentence to the two of them? A bloated cast is one of the main problems with normal RWBY. It's why we get shit like Jean staring at a statue for 7 minutes, and elongated gags where Juniper have to drop food onto a fat woman, and zero-effort scenes where they got to fight Ironwood for no reason. Trying to force everyone into the plot is a bad idea. If Shaft do more RWBY projects, I'd love to see Ren and Nora be more proactive then, but here, now, keeping the focus on the main team, plus the main deuteragonist who is intrinsically connected to Weiss, is a good idea. Episode 7, the one where we see the baby Weisses for the first time. This train fight was really cool, despite how short it was. While the pacing for this episode is pretty slow, getting to explore the Sillies area was nice, and the baby Weisses are too fucking cute. I love them. Also, this line where Blake says, "Did she keep her childhood feelings locked up all this time?" isn't explaining what's happening to the audience. It's establishing that Team RWBY understands what's happening, and also setting up RWBY reevaluating Weiss's relationship with her Sillies later. Episode 8, the one where RWBY became Shinji. Jean and Pyrrha Baby Weiss Protection Squad is so cute. This is also when I began to wonder if grabbing the relics was a good thing or not. Spoiler, it is, but I wasn't sure. Ice Queendom did a good job of keeping the audience joining along with the heroes and trying to figure out the mystery of how to help Weiss. The answer never felt blatant, but also felt like all we needed was a few more clues to have the whole puzzle solved, which gave the show a fun element where you were rewarded for paying attention to the details of the dream rather than mindlessly waiting for the characters to explain what to do. This ending scene was also really chilling. Episode 9, the one where RWBY was asleep too. Honestly, other than the recap episodes, I'd found this to be one of the weaker moments of the show. It felt a little rushed in some places, but dragged in others. The animation was more stiff too. Overall, I wished we'd gotten a little more time with RWBY's dream and exploring the White Fang base, and a little less time watching Weiss sing slowly, especially since her little coffin moment didn't end up doing anything or going anywhere. Episode 10, the one where Blake enters a nightmare. I really liked this episode, specifically the beginning, where Blake lays out her plan. They established Blake in the nightmare earlier, and seeing the two nightmares clash was really fun. Makes me wish Yang got to sleep too. The animation in the back half was pretty jank, not gonna lie. I think it's forgivable enough, though, for two reasons. One, while not looking that good, it still set up a bunch of important things. Even if it's ugly, the story was still fun to follow. 2, budgeting your good animation is not a bad thing to do, to compare to another one of Shaft's anime. Season 2 of Madoka Magica Record also have a handful of visually weak episodes right before the finale, and they were really boring too, but that paid off because they were able to go all out on the big final fight where it mattered. Would it be nice if this episode didn't look so jank? Yeah, obviously. But it's also not the end of the world that an episode dedicated towards setting up all the important fights doesn't look that good. I guess, to put it another way, I'd rather watch something that's ugly but is still a fun and engaging story over something that's beautiful but is boring or annoying. I think my favorite is when Ruby has this walk cycle that keeps changing in size. Also, I saw people complain about how they wished they hadn't skipped the Blake and Weiss fight, and I'm like, they're not done fighting? They had other things to do in this episode. They didn't skip the fight. They set it aside for later, like... Episode 11. The one with the final fight. Tons of fun. I love that Ruby Silver Eyes got to play a part in it, something I really didn't expect. I like that they also managed to make the final fight be with all 4 members fighting the Grimm. I really expected it to be with Ruby, Blake, and Yang versus Weiss. The whole stuff with Nimehair Blake was cool. Weiss's flashback chat with Nicholas was really nice. I like that the baby Weisses and Pyrrha helped Jean in fighting the Jacques statue. He may not be strong enough to be a hero right now, but with the help of his friends he still can be. And above all else, I'm glad that the budget was saved for now, when we needed it the most. Would it have been nice for episode 10 to look not so trash? Yeah, but I much prefer episode 10 looking trash so this episode can look good, versus both of them just looking fine. Episode 12. The one with the food fight. It's nice to actually see a resolution in Ruby for once. Getting to see the cast chat and relax and stuff after the big final battle is something that the canon show has never really done, and I hope, if anything, maybe RT will learn to have resolutions after all of this. The chatting with Sun at the cafe or whatever was a bit boring, but the redone version of Ozpin interrogating Blake makes up for it in my eyes. The camera work and direction of the scene makes the conversation so much more gripping, like a battle happening as the two try to read each other, versus the canon version of the scene that just has the camera fly around the room randomly. Ice Queendom has also done a better job at making me feel uncertain on if Oz is trustworthy or not than the real show ever did. And the food fight was a lot of fun too, and I really liked the music that played during it. All in all, an ending that puts a smile on my face. So, despite how much I enjoyed this show, there was clearly some problem with the production to a degree. While the story and writing was still enjoyable, the visuals of the mid to late episodes clearly started to dip and in some cases dive. And if I had to put my money on it, I'd say that the problem was these 3 recap episodes. Not only were these recaps a bit boring for returning fans, but clearly a lot of the budget and resources went into them. And like, a lot happens in these. Blake's train adventure, Weiss fighting the armor guy, Ruby fighting Torchwick, the kids fighting the Grimm in the forest, Weiss fighting the boar, the first nightmare, like, there's a lot going on. But there's also a lot of stuff that needed to happen later into the show too, when the actual story of the season was happening. And I'm not upset these episodes look nice. No one gets mad about something being well done unless it's steak, you know? But perhaps instead of making Weiss fighting the boar look so pretty, those resources could have gone towards making Pyrrha's head not fluctuate in size as she sings instead. And I might be wrong. Maybe they animated the recap episodes years in advance and that made no impact on the time and budget allotted to the rest of the episodes. But it does seem like Shaft ended up blowing the load on these episodes and then needed to scramble to get by near the finale. But, I mean, hey, RT also tends to blow their load on the first couple of episodes of a volume, but nothing they've made since Volume 4 has looked anywhere near as good as Ice Queendom. And when RT does it, they then spend the rest of the volume having the characters stand still and talk at each other. At least Shaft still gave us a fun finale and satisfying conclusion, and I think at the end of the day, that's the big thing. Despite how rough Ice Queendom gets in the middle, I'd still say it's an overall well-done show. It's not my favorite anime by any means, but it's also by far not the worst I've seen. And the weird thing was seeing so many people be so pissed off about it, though. It's a spin-off anime, and yeah, it's not perfect, but literally nothing is. Even my favorite anime of all time, the short jokes in Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood are more annoying than funny. It takes 11 episodes for Demon Slayer to really start. Cowboy Bebop has that one episode where Jet runs around doing nothing with a 14-year-old. Madoka Magica is littered with weird animation and ugly shots, which is to say that I don't expect perfection in anything I watch, but for some, Ice Queendom not being perfect for the entire runtime, it's proof that the whole thing is bad. Things don't need to be in absolutes. We can recognize where Ice Queendom does poorly at points without feeling the need to argue that nothing was done well in the show. Boogie Woogie Feng Shui is a bad episode, but that doesn't make the rest of Cowboy Bebop null in terms of its quality. The recap episode of FMA Brotherhood is boring, but that doesn't make the rest of the story unwatchable. Episode 10 of Ice Queendom has a lot of jank-looking animation, but that doesn't mean the story of the series was always bad. It doesn't mean the animation for other episodes are irrelevant in terms of quality. A show can have a bad episode without the whole show being bad. Why are we putting Ice Queendom on such an unobtainable pedestal? By all means, it seems that Jean started to do something in Ice Queendom, and people started looking for excuses to hate the whole damn thing. The same people I've seen say High Guardian Spice was well written, with interesting characters and good fights and animation, are saying Ice Queendom is boring, repetitive, and ugly, and I'm just like, okay. Maybe I've just mellowed out. Maybe I'm just actually really easy to please, which makes the fact that Ruby's been such a disappointment to me recently even more impressive, but beside the point. But I thoroughly enjoyed Ice Queendom. It's downright been the most fun I've had with this property for a long ass time. Yeah, it gets kinda ugly. But Ruby's ugly too. We knew how to still have fun back in volumes 1 through 3, so why is less than perfect animation suddenly such a deal breaker now? And looking at the touch-ups done to the animation between the trailer and the first couple of episodes, it seems Studio Shaft is aware of the quality of animation and has already taken steps to improve it. The art style does pretty clearly shift at times, especially during less than important talking scenes, probably due to outsourcing the animation for whatever reason. If your big takeaway is that Ice Queendom is trash because sometimes their faces look weird, then the Blu-ray will most likely solve that problem and at least make sure the animation looks consistent. I think the thing that bums me out the most about so many negative videos and posts about Ice Queendom is that, due to those, I've seen a slew of comments and tweets and such along the lines of, "Glad I'm not watching this filth. This trash can burn in hell. Hate to see how they butcher everything if they get a season 2. And it's a bummer because I genuinely recommend watching Ice Queendom if you're a fan of Ruby. It's good. Is it perfect? Fuck no, did you see episode 10? But it is good, and not in an ironic, good to watch with your friends so you can riff on how bad it is sort of way. If you're looking for that, the English dub seems to be where you'll actually find gold.
Anyways, when it comes to weapons, I'm as good as anyone. I'm going to work hard so I can fight to protect the people from Grimm, just like you did, Mom.
But no, it's just good. A good story, good fights with well-written, well-performed characters. And I do suggest you watch it, though maybe wait for the Blu-ray version rather than pay for a Rooster Teeth first bullshit subscription thing. Shaft has succeeded in doing what Rooster Teeth couldn't for 6 years. I got to watch Ruby and have fun while doing it. Looking at the Wikipedia page for Ice Queendom is fascinating. Seems the character designer Hyuke and Gen Urabochi, who directed Madoka, initially made the concept for the show, and then Ice Queendom's director, Toshimasa Suzuki, and the lead writer, To Ubataka, they came on and fleshed out the visuals in the script. There's no mention of anything that RT did to add to this story. It doesn't talk about them helping to write it, or direct anything. It seems they didn't even think of the main idea. I'm sure Carrie had to give the green light on everything, you know? But I'd love to see how this production actually went down. That'd be a great bonus feature for a DVD or Blu-ray. That's it. Hey, like and subscribe, or whatever.